Listen up, Guardians. I'm Profane and school is in session. Bungie has flipped the paradigm on solar warlocks. Well of Radiance is a thing of the past, while the new Song of Flame has become one of the most powerful and most versatile supers that warlocks have ever had. So if you're just getting started, or if you're coming back from a warlock hiatus, you'll need to know how to hold your own when you start jumping into raids, dungeons, and other in-game content like Grandmaster Nightfalls. And today we're going to be looking at what I would consider to be the single greatest solar warlock build that I've ever used. And I've used all of them. I was all over the Dawn Chorus, the Sun Bracers, the Necrotic Grips, and the Starfire Protocol. But none of those builds, even in their prime, hold a candle to what we now have with the Speaker's Sight. This is a new exotic helmet exclusive to the Final Shape. You can get it by completing the Legendary campaign or by ranking up with Master Raoul at the tower. This provides the Lost Voice intrinsic trait, which is going to do a lot of things for us whenever using healing grenades. Speaker's Sight converts those healing grenades into a healing turret, and I would go as far as to say that this is in many ways just like Titan's Banner of War. This benefit can be used on prismatic builds, but it's much more effective with the base solar subclass. When you spawn a healing turret, it will stay up for a total of 15 seconds. While it's active, it will shoot out healing seekers that apply cure and restoration to nearby allies. This happens once every 3 seconds, and it will reach any teammate within a 7-yard perimeter. This is going to provide a tremendous level of survivability to not only you, but everyone around you. It's not as potent as Well of Radiance once was, but this little healing turret is going to really put in some work to keep you and your allies alive and kicking. When this exotic is used with the Touch of Flame aspect, those restoration benefits will be increased, which is just one of many reasons why this is much better suited on a solar subclass. As those turrets provide your teammates with health recovery, they'll periodically create orbs, generating one every 10 seconds, and each of those orbs will provide 2.5% additional super energy, helping everyone regenerate their supers faster. So now that we know what the Speaker's Sight is going to provide for us, let's talk about how we can optimize on these benefits. As I mentioned already, Touch of Flame is going to give us bonus restoration. It's also going to give us an insane amount of bonus melee energy after consuming our healing grenade. This will trigger Heat Rises, which instantly heals anyone nearby. And when we get Final Blows while airborne, we'll gain between 20 and 50% bonus melee energy off of each Final Blow. The best thing about this is that you don't have to be all the way up in the air. You can bunny hop and still get that bonus energy. Since we are losing out on our ability to damage enemies with a grenade, we're going to be pairing Touch of Flame with the new Helion aspect. This is going to create a solar buddy whenever we cast our class ability. Our choice in class ability is reliant upon the activity in which we're participating in. In more difficult content, I would recommend a Healing Rift, just to provide as much support as possible. But Phoenix Dive is great at giving health, giving us bonus maneuverability, and an extra means of damaging enemies. You'll have your Solar Buddy for 20 seconds, and while it's active, it will continuously scorch targets, causing them to ignite after just 2 to 3 hits. But those Solar Buddies are only going to target enemies that are within about 4 meters, but these are such a powerful addition to this build. So we said it before, Well of Radiance is just not what it once was, and that's okay, because now we have Song of Flame, and this is pretty damn awesome. This is a roaming super that gives you the power of spamming abilities, while also using your weapons. You'll be able to sling out these fiery wisps that seek out nearby enemies, causing a ton of damage with tons of Scorch, which is going to instantly trigger ignitions. You'll also be able to spam your charged melee and class ability, and this will last for 25 seconds. While this super is active, you'll gain a 90% bonus in damage resistance, making you damn near immune. On top of your damage resistance, any nearby ally is going to get a 30% bonus in damage resistance, along with improved regeneration of their abilities. While you're in this caster state, all nearby allies will have scorching rounds to any kinetic or solar weapon, and this is on top of having Radiance, which is going to give everyone a 20% bonus on weapon damage, plus the ability to pierce barrier shields. I would recommend triggering Heat Rises before casting Song of Flame, but if you forget to, you will be able to consume one of those solar wisps to activate Heat Rises while you're in that caster state. This super is truly amazing. It will deal so much damage to a single target, and against a heavily populated group of enemies, you're not just clearing a path, you're cleaning house, which is so much more exciting, and so much more beneficial in my opinion than Well of Radiance has ever been. So let's talk about fragment choices, and I want to make it clear that the options we have selected have been made on the basis that you are in a team. We're using Ember of Benevolence, and this will only be used when we are with other players. Whenever we apply Restoration, Cure, or Radiance to a teammate, we will trigger a 6-second regenerative bonus that provides a 400% bonus to melee, grenade, and class ability energy. Since we'll be continuously healing allies, we will be able to proc this buff almost infinitely. We're using Ember of Torches, which is going to grant us and teammates with Radiance whenever we strike enemies with a powered melee attack. We're already providing this benefit when we pop our super, but now we should be able to consistently sustain that 20% damage bonus. We're also using Ember of Searing, and this is going to grant bonus melee energy, and it's going to create a fire sprite whenever we defeat scorched targets. We'll gain between 8 and 25% bonus melee energy off of each of those scorched enemies, which will stack right on top of all of the other bonuses that we'll be getting. Only one fire sprite will be generated every 10 seconds, and when we collect those fire sprites, we'll gain 12.5% bonus grenade energy, allowing us to cast our healing turrets much more often. And finally, we are using Ember of Ashes, which is going to increase the amount of scorch that we cause by an extra 50%. This will help trigger ignitions faster, causing more damage, and helping us clear through those waves of enemies much more efficiently. And what's even better about Ember of Ashes is that it's going to increase any source of scorch damage, which does include the solar weapon perk of Incandescent. With our subclass now fully addressed, let's take a look at that new seasonal artifact, because there are several new mods that will greatly improve our overall performance. And this starts with Elemental Siphon, which is going to generate additional fire sprites for us. Rapidly defeating enemies with kinetic or solar weapons will generate fire sprites, adding to the fire sprite that we'll already create because of Ember of Searing, which means more grenade energy. We're using counter energy, and this will only be needed when champions are present. When you or a teammate stun a champion, you'll receive bonus energy to the least charged ability, and this is going to add right around 10% extra energy each and every time a champion is stunned. We're using Radiant Orbs, which isn't completely necessary, but it's going to ensure that we always have Radiance. We are electing to not use Prismatic Transfer with this build, and the reason being is that it provides a 20% damage bonus for teammates after casting our super. However, this does not stack on top of Radiance, which means it's not going to do a damn thing for us, not with this subclass at least. Now we are using Expanding Abyss with this build, and there is a big reason why. We'll get more into our weapon loadouts here soon, but we do intend on incorporating a few select void weapons into this build. With Expanding Abyss equipped, we will deal between 25 and 35% bonus void damage against any weakened enemy, which is way better than the silly old 20% bonus that Prismatic Transfer gives. With in-game content in mind, there are a few standout exotic void weapons that are going to apply that weakening effect and capitalize on that bonus damage. The Tractor Cannon stands out above the rest, especially since it stuns overloads, but it's extremely limited to up-close and personal engagements, which leaves me more inclined towards the Leviathan's Breath heavy bow. This stuns unstoppable champions, it creates a huge knockback burst, it causes enemies to become volatile, and with a 25% bonus in damage, it will absolutely wreck damn near anything. The Buried Bloodline is my second recommendation. It weakens targets, grants you with Devour, and it deals a ton of damage, but it is locked behind the Warlord's Ruin dungeon. And if you're in a situation where you might need a sword, well, the Heart Shadow is the perfect option. It weakens targets, makes you invisible, and deals bonus damage after being invisible. Before we dive into the rest of the weapons to use with this build, let's take a quick look into the armor and armor mods that you'll need to be using. For the most part, this build is already completely self-sufficient. We've got rapid regeneration of all of our abilities, and we'll be creating a ton of orbs for our teammates, while increasing everyone's overall damage. But there's a few modifications that we can make to optimize this build even further. When it comes to the main character stats to focus on, resilience has got to be the biggest priority, and beyond that, it's going to be either discipline or recovery. Recovery helps our health regeneration kick in faster, and it's going to reduce the cooldown time of our class ability, while discipline will reduce the base cooldown of our grenade energy. As far as armor mods go, our healing turret will create plenty of orbs, but that's only going to be for teammates, which is why we are using helmet siphon mods, the heavy-handed gloves mod, and the Reaper class item mod. This will keep us loaded up on orbs and armor charges, and we intend on using those armor charges to maximize on our ability to create healing turrets. We're using grenade kickstart, so whenever we have armor charges active, they will get converted into grenade energy whenever we use our grenade. This will provide us with upwards of 33% bonus energy, stacking right on top of the bonuses that Benevolence and Fire Sprites will be giving us. We're also using bomber mods on our class item and Innervation on our boots to give us even more grenade energy, ensuring that we will always have healing grenades available. So at this point, we've got ourselves a top tier support build, providing everyone with insane healing and tons of bonus damage. So let's go ahead and check out the rest of the weapons that we'll be using to cut through those enemies. Assuming we are using either the Tractor Cannon or Leviathan's Breath, we will be going with one of three primary weapons. The first is No Hesitations, the new support auto rifle that lets us heal allies through hip fire. I didn't think this auto rifle was very good at first, mainly because of its poor stability, but that was only until I got the right combination of perks, and so far I've found Incandescent and Subsistence to be a dominating force to use with this build. The BXR Battler Legendary Pulse Rifle will be our second choice as a primary weapon. Pulse rifles just saw an increase in base damage, and this is one of the most lethal options since we can have Incandescent or Blunt Executioner. And then our third option will be the Epochal Integration. This hand cannon comes from Neomuna, and the reason that we've chosen it is because it does come with Incandescent, but it also has the option of those Tracer Rockets, which are so very strong. But it also offers Harmonic Resonance, which will give a 20% bonus in damage against Lucent Hive, Tormentors, and other light-bearing enemies. Enemies that you can expect to see a lot when participating in in-game content right now. When we look at our kinetic slot, we've elected to go with the new rocket sidearm, the Call. This is a strained sidearm that deals out a massive amount of damage, especially if you have Golden Tricorn or One for All. But one of the greatest benefits that it gives us is the addition of Demolitionist. This will reload the weapon whenever we throw or consume a grenade, and as we defeat enemies with the Call, we'll gain bonus grenade energy. The new stasis grenade launcher, the Lost Signal, would also be an extremely viable hot swap option, but for the purposes of handling champions, we're going with the Call as our main choice. With an infinite supply of Cure and Restoration, it'll be damn near impossible for you or teammates to die. And with all the bonus damage that you'll be bringing to the table, there's not an in-game activity out there that you won't have success with when running the Speaker's Sight with the Song of Flame, making you an invaluable member of any LFG fire team, whether that's a raid, a dungeon, or a Grandmaster Nightfall. So if you never want to get kicked from an LFG group again, and you want to feel the true power of a Solar Warlock, then this is the only build that you will ever need. And with that, we have now come to an end of today's build video, but I'd love to hear your thoughts about the new Song of Flame Super, the Speaker's Sight Exotic, and the state of Solar Warlocks. Let us know down in the comments, and let us know what your favorite build has been so far. Thank you as always for checking out the video. If you enjoyed and found it helpful, then be sure to hit the like button below. along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated and both really do help support the channel. If you need help getting this build set up for yourself, be sure to check out the Destiny Item Manager link in the description below. You can also visit the Mobalytics link down below to be able to easily copy this build. If you're a new Light Guardian just starting your journey, or a battle-hardened veteran just looking for a new home, then be sure to check out the Discord link that's also down in the description and join one of the greatest communities in all of Destiny. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.